Warning: the following podcast contains irreverent humor, exceptionally nerdy opinions, potential cursing, and plenty of love for the prequels. If any of the preceding offends you, please turn off this podcast immediately, and may the Force be with you.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerfherder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
It's time for the Jedi to end.
You're tuned in to the Nerfherder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate, featuring your hosts, JT. I mean, they killed his mother. What's he supposed to do? Send him a postcard? I wish you wouldn't have done that. AJ.
Well, if you don't remember something you already saw, that does not count as a spoiler. That counts as you not paying attention.
Steve.
It's like what was it, Force Friday at Toys R Us last year? It's just everybody's normal, and then something about microphones, and everything's lit now.
On this episode of the Nerfherder Council, we discuss a list of 8 potential versions of Episode 7 that could have been, and I holler at the guys about prequel hate and porgs.
Porgs?
Yes, damn porgs.
This is the Nerfherder Council.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. I am your host, JT. With me are AJ and Steve. And since the last time we came at you here on the Spreaker app and iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and nerfherdercouncil.com.
And YouTube.
I keep forgetting to promote that one.
We like the YouTubes.
Yes, very much so. Since the last time we did a show, the Disney D23 convention went down. It was actually just a couple days after it was literally like the day after we recorded, wasn't it?
Our show was instantly outdated.
Yeah, it was crazy. So San Diego Comic-Con just happened, but we're not going to mention that because all we got was some Star Wars action figures. And since we don't talk about Marvel and DC, which were the big winners at San Diego Comic-Con, we'll stick with the Star Wars stuff at D23.
Oh, there was a ton of stuff that dropped there, just nothing really related to this show.
Exactly. But
like a leaked Infinity War trailer,
which was awesome.
I actually missed that one. I was going to say Stranger.
It's pretty grainy and crappy, but you get the gist of what's going on.
You can definitely see enough to know what's happening. It's badass.
Is there an Infinity of War going on?
Yeah.
Just as much Infinity of War as there is War of Stars.
Yeah.
Star Wars.
Nice. Although I have to say, first of all, is it Thanos or Thanos?
Thanos.
Okay.
Yes.
I always called him Thanos. But anyway, Thanos. And I thought this when I saw him on screen with the other movies that he's been in the MCU, still looks a little cartoony to me.
Yeah, they gave him the giant chin.
And I don't know what else you're going to do with them. So it's not like I have a suggestion on what could be done better.
Yeah, I mean, it is Josh Brolin under all that. You can only hide so much.
Yeah, right. They just accentuated what's naturally there. But
right.
So anyways, at D23, the big news was that we did not get any Han Solo footage, which I guess is to be which is understandable because they're having to refilm everything as we speak. So, but aside from that, we got what we all heard was rumored and finally got, which was the behind the scenes featurette trailer, whatever, 3.5 minutes or something. The behind the scenes reel for The Last Jedi.
I was super stoked about that. That thing looks so cool. I actually really like that. Like, it's not quite time for a full trailer yet, because if I got to watch, like with Force Awakens, when that trailer came out, and then for the next 9 months, we had to agonize over that. And it was such a slow reveal. Like, I like the behind the scenes to break it up, because 5 months away from the movie is too soon to drop another big trailer and have me agonize over it. So this is a good, it tied you over until probably September for the real trailer.
No, it's crap and it's stupid. And I don't know why people get into it.
Come on.
I don't give a crap about the behind the scenes. I want another trailer.
You're so stoked for the movie. How are you not stoked for anything that comes out from the set?
Because it's not showing me anything new. You have to go through it, see, like frame by frame to go, oh, there's this, and then there's this little PP thing. And I mean, you know what everybody's talking the most about is the damn porgs. Seriously, if you read everything, like the one thing that people mention the most are the porgs. Birds, man. Force birds. Seriously.
You just love watching me hit that hotkey button.
Apparently.
Don't you?
But I'm like, dude, I think the
Dial M for marker.
Yeah. I think the porgs are really cute. I was worried what they would look like. And I'm like, okay, those are cute. That's cool. They don't look too fake. Awesome. But when all the stuff when people are retweeting about, oh, we got the behind the scenes. Oh, and look at porgs. That sucks. Okay. I want like more Kylo Ren or Phasma. Like everyone talks about
You saw both of them.
Yeah, but they talk about how Phasma has a bigger role in the movie. You still haven't seen anything. It's like Gwendolyn Christie's in the crapper every time the camera goes past. You don't see anything except for maybe like a little piece of cape sticking out the door of the Porta-John. I mean, come on.
Well, what about
Force birds? I want another trailer. I'm getting impatient. That's my problem with this. I'm getting friggin' impatient for this damn movie. It feels like it's taking forever.
You didn't chuckle at the "it's a wrap" comment at the end?
I did chuckle at that. But
honestly,
again,
that was the one thing I took from that.
I thought there was plenty
fun.
of stuff to chew on in this.
No, it wasn't a trailer. I want a little more like exposition on what the plot might be. I want to, kind of postulate on what the plot might be. I don't want to see birds. I'm fine that there's birds.
By the way, we're just getting
lightsabers.
we're getting normal bleeps instead of Star Wars sound effects in editing this week.
That's fine. That's fine. It's like I don't get more of the Millennium Falcon flying or explosions or
That's because it was behind the scenes. What do you want to do? Just throw a model of it through the air and tape it?
I just said what I wanted. I wanted a trailer.
You got Chewbacca chilling by the Falcon there with the fire and everything. He's apparently, camping down at the mouth of the the foothills.
Again,
there was a Chewie head getting like pampered at the beginning of it. Isn't that cool for you?
Yeah, Chewbacca getting his hair done. That's what I need. I need to see Chewbacca at the Intergalactic
Chewbacca in Barbershop 3 starring Ice Cube. And
look, we have confirmed. We have confirmed sighting of Domhnall Gleeson.
Again,
with a new hairstyle.
That's what we needed is Hux with a different hairstyle.
Damn right we do. More Hux all the time.
Hux is like me. He changed it up. Maybe he had the same hair for 15 years and then changed it up.
It's time for a new haircut.
When I go to the barber, I am going to have them do something different. And my first order will be to cut the sides.
I don't like how my hair lies.
It just fits in so perfectly. Yeah, I don't know. Like all kidding aside, I knew we were getting the behind the scenes thing, but I want a trailer.
You mean this guy right here?
Did you really get a new Hux figure?
I got a new Hux figure.
What is that thing on it?
This is like called Christmas in July, my friends.
Is that like a jetpack on his back or something? Or that goes with him that goes on his back?
It's combinable with, I don't know, some other stuff.
Can it jetpack him right the hell out of the movie?
No. You see the tag at the top of it.
He actually flies.
It was on the clearance rack. It just came out last week.
Actually,
it's out for 3 days and it's already on the clearance rack.
Actually, the jetpack is so he can fly right into your heart and stay there.
Hux is never flying into my heart. Dude, if they kill him off in the movie, I'm just going to tell you right now, we'll be in the theater and you'll hear me, the guy in the back going, yeah! All right.
All right. Next video edit, the beginning of Kickstart My Heart with Hux in a jetpack flying across the screen.
Nice.
Right.
Now,
that'd be awesome.
You better stop with all the Hux hate, okay? Because one rule of Christmas, Santa knows who's naughty and nice, and you're being very naughty right now.
I don't care.
Naughty boys don't get any presents.
Haven't you ever seen that Hux rhymes with sucks? What? Ooh, what is that?
It's your own Hux figure.
The other nice thing.
Speaking of which, he's going to stare glaringly at you the rest of the show now.
Holy crud, there's two of them in here.
The other nice thing about the new Age of Star Wars is that Force Friday in September means clearance July every year.
Wow. Okay, so we have Cassian Andor and Jyn Erso. I wonder, do I have Jyn?
You might have
get Ray.
You might have gotten Jin at Celebration.
Well, now you have one you can open.
How do you get these clearance stickers off without ruining the box?
You can use like Gugon or something like that.
Okay.
There's a couple things.
I don't want to F up the box. So.
It's the old school.
Thank you, man. That's awesome. I appreciate it.
It's the old school peel the corner and go
and start
get the
yeah. I might let you do that because I've never done that successfully. If you have, I might be like, hey Steve, here, breathe on this for me.
And Target clearance stickers suck because they come off in 3 pieces.
Hey, yeah, I mean, I had to get those for you, man. Black Series for $5.48 a piece. Like, yeah.
So
plus I texted you about them and I knew you wouldn't actually remember to stop and get them yourself.
Oh, dude, I completely forgot. Because, I mean, there's a Target right by work, but I'm trying to rush out on lunch and get back and everything. So if I was in there looking for clearance action figures, it might take me a lot longer than I'm supposed to be out. So,
yeah, after I texted you that, I'm like, I was right there. I should have just bought them. So I just did after work then.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you.
So, yeah, and I got myself a Hux for my troubles. So there. Yeah.
There you go. Rock on, dude.
I'm now halfway complete with my Hux collection. I'm a Hux completist, you know.
There's only like 6 figures out for them, so you should be good.
4 as far as I know. I've got the Lego figure in the
I gave him too much credit. I'm sorry.
Now I need the Black Series and the Funko Pop, and I'll be done.
I've heard of some crappy action figure collections before, but I don't think I've heard of anything crappier than a Hux collection.
It's like, here's my Hux collection. It's on like a 3x3 shelf.
It's smaller than a paperback novel.
It's like somebody put a picture on Twitter today of, hey, the new look inside of the studio for the new Imagine Dragons album, and it was a piano with 2 keys on it.
It's funny you mentioned that because my band just texted that we're adding a 4th Imagine Dragons song to our set, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait for that.
So you guys are a tribute band now, okay?
Don't even get me started on that. But so back to the original topic.
Yeah, well, you know, because these figures were on sale.
That's not them. That's AWOL Nation.
Oh,
who's counting? But you know, yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I want a trailer. The behind the scenes thing, I guess, you know, people are into it, but, and I know it's just me being picky because it's
going to make you appreciate the trailer more when you get it, though.
Yeah, very much so. Honestly, this movie is feeling like, remember when you were a kid and Christmas, like it just seemed like the month of December took like 10 months to get there. Like Christmas was just forever away all the time. That's how this is feeling to me. And it's just like every time I look up, it's, you know, 180 days, 180 days, 180 days. I'm like, damn it. I just looked at this thing a month ago and it said 180 days. It's just the counter is just not getting any shorter for me.
How spoiled are we? Like it used to be 3 years between movies, except when it was, I don't know, 16 years between movies.
Yeah.
Now it's an annual release and we can't even go. We're 5 months removed from a theatrical Star Wars release and we're already like, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Come on.
Welcome to 2017, man. That's how we are nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I think Rogue One was so kick ass. And then to find out the potential plot stuff about episode 8 completely turning everything on its ear, I think you're just like, my God, I think the nerves about can they pull off, you know, a great Star Wars movie without George Lucas, that's gone. So now you're just back to that whole, I have to see how the saga continues kind of thing. At least for me, I know that's what it is. So I'm just antsy. And a behind the scenes reel, I'm like, I don't, you have a lot of costumes and squibs and that's great. I love it, but I don't,
like I said, it's 2017. We live in an age of Netflix where you can just get 13, 15 episodes all dropped in your face at one time when it comes out. And you're not happy because you're just like, you know what? Just give me all 6 of them right now. Yeah. Just film them all, drop them all at once, and we'll talk to you in another couple of decades.
Yep. That's like they released the trailer for Stranger Things 2, and it says, you know, that the series is being released on October 27th, and I immediately went, oh, sweet, that's the day after Guns N' Roses, and I already requested that day off of work, so I could just wake up in the morning and binge watch the whole damn thing the first day it comes out.
Right.
It's like, sweet. You don't have to wait for it.
Tell me how great that trailer looked.
Yeah, that was cool.
A couple of people aren't really into it, and I don't know what they're talking about because it just looks amazing to me.
I just think that with that one, the original series was so good that you have to.
It's a Star Wars problem is what it is. They made the first series not knowing if there was going to be a continuation, and now they had to play catch up and find a way to continue the story.
It was too damn good. Now they got stuff to live up to.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guarantee you they're setting up for season 3. I don't think they're going to like do this one and hope they get a 3rd season.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you got to take these trailers with a grain of salt anyway. I mean, if we've learned that from anything, we've learned it from Star Wars. You know, the stuff that goes in the trailer that you never see in the movie.
I feel like that's going to be more consistent with this one, though. Last Jedi seems to have been a very smooth production process, whereas like Force Awakens, we were rewriting and editing. You know, we got Constable Zuvio. Anyone? So
where's that Clearance Black Series figure?
I was just watching a YouTube video before I came over here, talking about, it was like 6.5 minutes of explaining other things that Rogue One was supposed to end with. Because obviously that's the ultimate example of where the hell was that?
Yeah.
And because there's so much crap in the trailer that never showed up anywhere in the movie. So yeah, I'm with you. Now I'm like, I don't really trust any Star Wars trailer because who knows if that crap's making it in or not.
Yeah.
That could be a complete red herring. We have no idea.
I really just go on the interviews, basically, like what the cast is saying. And so, and the one word that everyone has used about the movie, as we've said before, is porgs. Oh, come on! No, it's not porgs, but I had to set that one up. You know, everyone said it's different. And, you know, Luke Skywalker, dummy. Mark Hamill's even said that, you know, he's got this idea of where he thinks the Luke Skywalker character should go. And it's totally like a 180 from that. And knowing him, how he thinks of that Skywalker character as like this shining good guy, I think that kind of tells us what's going on. So yeah, I mean, but so I don't know, the Stranger Things 2 trailer, it looked cool to me. And I mean, the show itself was great. And I love cheesy 80s horror movies because of the goofy sound and all that kind of stuff. And Stranger Things had that. So I'm excited to see that again.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. So,
but back on Last Jedi for a second here before we get into our topic for tonight. I will say, like, I know you weren't all that jacked up about the behind the scenes reel. I'm sorry. I don't know why, but like when the end of the behind the scenes reel came up and there were more shots of Carrie Fisher, I gotta admit, I choked up. I don't know why that still bugs me so much. I'm like, it doesn't suck any less. How is it that someone we've never met means this much to us still?
She was such a big part of it, and you knew that, but now to see it and realize that she's not there anymore, it's it's almost like, you know, don't know what you got till it's gone kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one thing for them to, you know, quote unquote, kill off Han Solo until they bring him back in episode 9. But you know that Harrison Ford is around.
Yeah.
So let's say they do bring him back and they do some harebrained while, you know, Luke felt it and he, you know, held him up with the Force from, you know, worlds away, and, you know, he healed him or something like that. And then he comes back in episode 9. At least you know that there's a chance that Han Solo can come back because Harrison Ford's around. Princess Leia can't. You just can't do it.
Right.
So you're getting Star Wars without any more Princess Leia. And I also think that because she and Mark Hamill are basically they were really the stewards of the whole thing with how many conventions they did and those panels that were just like ultimate amounts of fun. You don't have that anymore. So it goes beyond just her being in the movies.
It's like a family member. It really is.
Yeah. And I never realized it until this stuff came out after her death. Like you see the tributes or you see, like you say, the trailer or the behind the scenes. I actually feel the same way. And I didn't realize until that stuff happened. You're like, oh my God, this really does suck more than I originally thought that it did. I
just hope it doesn't distract too much in the movie. Like when we're sitting there in the theater, every scene she's in, we're not just like, oh,
yeah, right. I'm like, well, this is going to suck.
So hopefully it's good, but we'll see. But before we get on to The Last Jedi, I think we need to, now's a good time, especially with Force Friday coming up in about 6 weeks. We only got like 2 more episodes to record before we're doing that too.
Wow.
So yeah, it's going to be like all Last Jedi from like September on through. Oh, there's Rebels coming out too.
Nah. I do have one thing on my list though. that I actually want to go after on Force Friday.
Yeah.
Apparently the Black Series Ray with the speeder bike is supposed to be part of Force Friday.
Oh, nice.
Oh, is it? That thing looks cool. We saw that at Celebration.
I haven't seen anything confirmed on it. I've seen people talking about it like it is something. So, I mean, we'll see. That list has got to come out in the next couple weeks or so. There's always a list like a week or two before Force Friday.
Didn't Hasbro have that at SDCC? Didn't they like have a whole list of like, they had a whole thing that says, get ready for Force Friday 2.
Boy, I
didn't even see that if they did. So I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
Speaking of San Diego Comic-Con, how come I didn't see anything about people getting that Thrawn?
Yeah, really.
Oh my God.
Because nobody wanted the damn thing.
Oh no. Did you see the packaging on that?
The packaging looks great.
Oh man. I want to look that up on eBay. I wonder what it's going for. Cause that was awesome.
Well, also HasbroToyShop.com usually has some exclusives go up after the conventions are over. So you might be able to just get it there.
God, that'd be great. I just can't tell my wife. Did you get another action figure? Oh yeah, it was at Target for $19.99. It was $20. Yeah.
Good thing she doesn't listen to the show.
All right. Unfortunately, she's always in the car because when I get the files from you guys on Sundays, I'm usually driving home from Lima. I'm like, ooh, it's the show. I got to hear what happened.
I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, well, I'm one of those self-serving people that listens to myself, but it's not because, ooh, I have a show. I'm always like, all right, what can I improve on? What did I do that sounds stupid that I can make sure not to do again?
You mean like insulting Hux?
Oh, shut up. I can insult Hux all I want. I'm just going to keep reminding you, Hux rhymes with sucks for a reason. So, that's... I just don't know. I can't understand why you like that character, man.
And John rhymes with fat ass who's totally wrong. So
you were almost there. All right. So do you want to get on to tonight's topic?
Sure. I was kind of leading into that anyway with the Force Friday thing. Basically, here's my rationale for tonight's topic.
Okay.
Since, unlike you, who apparently brought the last 3 months of episode topics. Thank you very much.
I did. You're welcome.
Revisionist history.
God, I'm good.
Anyway, I figure since we're going to be absorbed in Last Jedi stuff for the rest of the year, because we already are anyway, I really wanted to take a look back now that we've, bathed in Rogue One for a while. I wanted to look back at Force Awakens a little bit and see how it feels like now that we're getting the furthering of that story.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that's always bugged me about Force Awakens is that we've heard that it was kind of a standalone in a way. Like it sets up a new chapter in the saga, but at the same time, they purposely left the ending open to where the subsequent episodes could go their own direction and tell their own story. So it makes me want to go back and like watch Force Awakens and see how safe it feels, because they purposely didn't push anything in a direction that they couldn't change later.
Kind of like episode 4. Oh, I'm sorry.
Except for, like, I don't know, like maybe Han Solo dying. He's not going to be a Force ghost, dude. I'm sorry. He's not.
He's going to be a kick-ass ghost.
I hate to pull a Maz on you, but whoever you're waiting for, he's not coming back.
Han Solo has never left. He will always be in my heart.
But not like Hux with a jetpack. I'm sorry. I'm going to be distracted the whole episode as long as I got this thing within eyesight.
Horrible.
Oh, it's great.
So anyway,
yeah, like I started listening to it in the car actually, and it's still weird to watch it. I still don't know really how I feel about it, but knowing all the different directions it could have gone in, because the rumors of episode 7 have been around pretty much since the inception of Star Wars, really, based on interviews and stuff that George Lucas gave and whatnot. So I sent you guys a link. We're going to play chunks of this YouTube video where WhatCulture, which has a ton of great stuff. I usually watch it for wrestling videos, actually, but they've got a whole pop culture channel. And this talks about the 7. Is that right? 7 different, 8 different ways episode 7 could have gone based on different clips and interviews from George Lucas and rumors around the Disney sale and everything. So I figured it would be cool to like take a look at those, give them a listen, and see, like what we think about each idea. Because I don't know, like you were asking me before the show, JT, you were asking me, are these all fact? And I think some of them might be speculation, but they're based on reputable sources. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Or logical conclusions.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be cool to like bring that to the show put it before the council and see what you guys think of these things.
Okay, sweet. Well, Steve, hit number 8, please.
Maybe.
These, by the way,
When George Lucas
go from 8 to 1.
what was then called the Star Wars,
there is
he
a
ended up
lead
with
into
story
it,
of
by the way.
unwieldy length. Splitting it into more and more pieces, he ended up with a narrative that could be told in 6, 9, or 12 parts, depending on who you believe. And when you've got a story that big, there's going to be a lot of changes made along the way. And episode 7, which turned out to be an absolute gem, could have been a whole lot different. But in case you're wondering, yeah, Metachlorians were actually planned from the start, so you're welcome. Regardless, and with this in mind, I'm Jules from WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 different versions of Star Wars Episode 7 that were almost made. Number 8, a non-Lucas follow-on in the 80s. Although Lucas was rather adamant as time went by that the saga ended with Episode 6, he did toy with the idea of handing Star Wars over to another director for subsequent movies, which he revealed in interviews shortly after the first trilogy's conclusion. At the time, he was off writing Indiana Jones and producing the god-awful Howard the Duck, so was kind of over the whole space thing. But then he returned in order to make the prequels and maintained a vice-like grip on the series for a long time after. It was also during this time that he denied absolutely that there would be a sequel trilogy starting with Episode 7. But obviously, that mindset was changed.
All right, so there's number 8. A non-Lucas Episode 7 in the 80s. So it'd been like 86, 87, 88, something like that.
That one sounds pretty plausible to me.
Yeah, that would have been weird because we kind of had something like that, and they're called the Ewok movies.
Well, those are
a non-Lucas Star Wars that close to the last release would have been really odd. I could see something like that after like a 10-year gap or something like that, but doing it right after Episode 6 ago, all right, somebody new is going to take over Star Wars now. That would have just been too weird and too close to Episode 6. It would have been too noticeable.
I wonder if he's referencing, though, if it was still George Lucas's ideas and writing and just somebody else directing like he did with Irvin Kershner.
Maybe.
I mean, because that would be different. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw what happened with Empire. It worked out great. But if he's talking about like a whole different story group or something like what Lucasfilm did, that could have been an
I guess I'm just
disaster.
trying to imagine like what's going on now, but just shift it back to 1987. You know, that somebody else just has creative control over the entire thing.
I wonder if he would have tried to actively hand it over to Steven Spielberg at that point. Even though Spielberg was doing the Indiana Jones movies, I mean that's his best friend. I mean, maybe he would have given it to Spielberg.
I think Spielberg would have been an odd choice because, like they were saying, the rationale for him even wanting to bail on it was because he was working on Indiana Jones with Steven Spielberg. So turning it over to, it doesn't make a lot of sense there. I don't know who he would have turned it over to, but I could see, Steve, I would take the opposite tack. I mean, if you're, George Lucas and your story is done and you have no intention of reviving the storyline anytime in the future, strike while the iron's hot. If you wait and just let it lay dormant for 10 solid years and then try to get some marketability out of it, it's a lot harder than if you're like, hey, remember that thing that came out like 2 years ago? Yeah, I want to sell it to you now so you can make one. That seems like a much more plausible business strategy to me.
Yeah. Disney's having a time trying to sell this thing nowadays, ain't they?
I was thinking that as he was saying it. I'm like, well, that happened.
I do see his point, but I mean, without the Disney marketing machine, I guess it would have been kind of tough for random Joe to take over Star Wars and try to sell the thing a decade later.
Yeah, without having done research into 80s directors and movie styles and whatnot, it's almost like we don't know.
Should have got that idiot that did Willow.
Well played, man. You win tonight. Yeah, I think without seeing a list of 80s directors and what they did and whatnot.
I wish I knew more about movies to be able to like come up with a list, but I don't know who would be like, can you guys think of anyone from the 80s? You're like, yeah, I could see him doing Star Wars. And not the director from Willow, Steve.
Yeah.
Jorge Lucas or whatever his name was.
Jorge Lucas. Where do you want to go eat breakfast?
Whatever happened to that guy after that movie?
Where do you want to go eat breakfast? Bob Evans. I don't like Bob Evans. What else you got? Well, how about Robert Evans? So, I don't know. I mean, Spielberg is the first name that immediately comes to mind. I mean, other guys that were doing sci-fi that were of note.
God, can you imagine
Cameron?
James Cameron, Ridley Scott.
I was just about to say Ridley Scott, but that would be.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
Can you imagine a Ridley Scott directed Star Wars film?
That'd be crazy.
Oh my God.
That would be crazy.
Robert Zemeckis.
I thought of his name too. Because of Back to the Future and stuff. I don't know. It's again. I think it could have been an absolute disaster if it wasn't Lucas's ideas.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the interesting things to speculate on is whether or not they would have pulled a Disney and thrown him out, or just done whatever he had in mind.
Yeah, like would he have actually sold Star Wars, or would he have just had somebody else do it for him? That I think. See, there's a lot of. They
could have got Scorsese to do it.
Yeah, right. Francis Ford Coppola. Yeah, I don't know.
Let's go for a John Hughes directed Star Wars.
I thought of that too. Like it'd be like Breakfast Club, but with like they're all in like the space brig or something.
Get like John Carpenter or something. Turn the thing into a whole Halloween aspect.
He hands it over to Kubrick, and it just gets all weird. Like, what the hell is this? Like, what is this goofy, like, introspective crap?
I think it's a...
Why doesn't the Millennium Falcon make noise in space anymore?
Everything's silent. It goes with real world science.
They just visit a new planet, and there's a bunch of hookers there. Oh, sucky, sucky, space boy. And then Luke gets his camera stolen.
The more we get into this, the more this might have been a very bad idea. I'm kind of glad this didn't happen.
Han Solo starts screaming about how there's many blasters like his, but
yeah. Right.
Then he offs himself in a toilet stall. I feel like I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, wow, this sounds really familiar.
Great ideas.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just I think whether or not it was good is dependent upon the parameters of, like I say, would Lucas be behind it, but just not directing? Would he, completely give up the reins? Would he sell the company? I got
to go back 10 seconds. I'm just trying to picture R. Lee Ermey in a Star Wars movie right now.
They recast Vader with R. Lee Ermey. You're part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor, scumbag. Where are the damn plans? I'm going to rip your head off and down your neck with the Force if you don't give me those Death Star plans. Wow, this took a really crazy right turn. You better do another marker because you just missed an F-bomb.
They're so close together. I got 2 for 1 on that one.
Right? Yeah, that would be crazy, man. I don't know. It was so popular at that time that people would have been into it, but because I think part of the reason that episode 7 is successful now, there's so much more material behind it.
Yeah, the universe is so much more grown up.
But there's the prequel backlash that I think really helps propel episode 7, because it's not right off. I mean, think about it. It's basically like it's like Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Would people think that movie is as bad as they do if there were 3 movies after the first 3 Indiana Jones that people said were just, there's a loud majority of fans are just going, these are the worst things ever. And then you put out an Indiana Jones that's more like the originals. Is like, would Kingdom of the Crystal Skull look better?
True. That's good point.
Because if episode 7 was just coming right off of 4, 5, and 6, you're basically expecting that type of quality. So if you get anything less, people would throw a fit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could have been the death of Star Wars.
Yeah, I think it was better to hang on to it and do nothing with it, which he really did. I mean, the only thing keeping it alive at that time period was action figures.
Mm-hmm. Merchandise and the EU and stuff like that.
There was no EU. The first book came out in, I think, 91. That was the whole big thing about the Thrawn series, was it was the first book.
Well, I mean, it was 16 years between movies, but that's what I'm saying. Like that kind of rejuvenated interest in the stories, and the toys were all there and everything. But
yeah, but that's like 6 years after what they're talking about here in this first point.
Still, I mean, like, at least there was
if
something.
1985 rolls around or 1986 rolls around and they're like, here's episode 7 directed by a certain name here.
Well, but that's what I'm saying, though. At least, I was agreeing with your point that because there was a distance between the films, that was better than just, immediately jumping in 2 or 3 or 3 years later with somebody else, doing episode 7. So, all right, well, play number 7.
Number 7. It would be the 4th film in the overarching story straight after Return of the Jedi. So one of the original ideas for the first Star Wars run was that while Return of the Jedi marked the ending of Vader's story, it marked the beginning of Luke's. This proposed Episode 7 would take place directly after the close of Episode 6 and would see Luke venture off to find his sister, who wasn't Leia. The Emperor would also be kept in secret until a rumoured Episode 9, and the tone of the projects would have been more ethereal, according to Lucas. Spooky.
Okay, so they're basically saying that the story would have been dragged out longer.
Yeah, same breadth of story, more movies to tell it.
Because he just said the Emperor wouldn't be revealed until Episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's weird. Okay, and the sister wasn't Leia. Okay, I mean that would have been cool
and wasn't revealed yet. Yeah.
I mean they were on such a roll with those 3 movies that why couldn't you do that? I mean, it could work. Do you think people would have crapped on it if it would have been, 77, 80, 83, 86, 89, 92? I mean, you're talking about 15 years.
I don't think too many people would have crapped on it because we were before the age of social media at that point. So there's not a platform for too many people to bitch about it if it isn't meeting their expectations of Star Wars.
And the sequel was basically invented in the 80s. That's when franchises really began.
Well, and that's actually, we can get into that another time with that article I sent you guys that, that I found that said that Star Wars basically created the sequel.
Yeah, true. But I'm thinking like Police Academy,
right.
Ghostbusters tried it and failed.
Ghostbusters 2 was great. I don't know why people crap on that movie. I love Ghostbusters 2.
It's why there wasn't a Ghostbusters 3. So
well, I thought it was super. It wasn't as good as the first because the first is like almost perfect, but I thought the second one was cool. But anyways, it's not a Ghostbusters podcast. So.
Yeah, but it seemed like most big movies in the 80s got at least one more turn. You had Gremlins 2, which I don't know why that didn't spawn a sequel.
That was a fun movie.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. Come on, help me out here,
about
guys.
the horror movies like Friday the 13th Nightmare. And they made like
Halloween.
I think every freaking Nightmare movie was made in the 80s except for like Wes Craven's or something like that.
Yeah, the sixth one or whatever.
Over a span of 10 years, they made like 4 of those things or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it just depends on the attention span of the audience because when you think about it, I would have let's say I saw Episode 4 the year it came out, and then they have 6 movies. Mm-hmm. So like we said, 77, 80, 83, 86, 89, 92.
Yeah.
I would have seen the first one when I was like 15 months old.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have then seen the final one. I could have driven myself to the theater because I've been 16 years old. So,
crazy, right?
Yeah. I mean, how would that work with the fan base if you have a bunch of little kids but they're growing, for 15, 16 years? Would it keep their attention span? And could he keep that role going? They did it with Harry Potter, but those were novels that already existed. So, has there ever been a movie franchise that had 6 movies in a row that was one continuous story that everyone agrees is just like amazing?
Police Academy.
Oh, the last funny one of that was the 5th one, if I remember right.
By the way, just looking at it,
the first actually, but
since I'm a huge Nightmare nerd, 84, 85, 87, 88, 89, and then Freddy's Dead came out in 91. So you might as well claim that. So damn near.
Jeez.
So five of the 6 before New Nightmare were all in the 80s, and they didn't make the first one till 84.
That's crazy.
So in a 6-year time span, they dumped 5 movies out in that franchise.
God, they're like Van Halen albums.
Yeah, but Van Halen albums were all quality.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not actually insulting. I'm saying 78, 79, 80 is annual release.
Well, that's how music used to be.
A lot of us Nightmare nerds forget about the Dream Child.
Yeah, not their finest, not the finest moment. All right, so
wasn't that the one like that they weren't allowed to kill anybody or something like that? It was that weird time where like the Ninja Turtles came out and they weren't allowed to use their weapons,
family friendly and all that. Yeah,
and Freddy like had to kill everybody without using his glove and all kinds of stuff. So you had to play a stupid video game or whatever and kill him.
Well, that was the last one the 6th one when he used the power glove. Like now I'm playing with power.
So that was 91. Yeah. So 91 that makes more sense for the Ninja Turtles. Because that's right around that time where everything was so PC that you're like, The kids can't see blood on the screen.
Right.
The Ninja Turtles can't use their weapons.
Well, Star Wars would fit right in with that. First, there is no blood. And second, we saw Darth Maul's death. So clearly, we're living in that age again.
There's a spray of blood when Darth Maul gets cut in half. There's a little red cloud if you watch again.
It's like is
that blood or is that the dark side kind of like whoosh?
I think it's dark side or something like that.
It's like the original Mortal Kombat where you had to put the cheat code in to get the blood.
Right. Right. But yeah, I mean, if they were to just keep going like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in succession with Lucas, I said it would be the Vader trilogy and then the Luke trilogy. That I think could have been cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. And that's kind of what they're doing right now in a way.
This is pretty clearly Rey's story.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't know what this is going to do. Again, in episode 8.
Again, 2017. It's like the PC thing to do right now is to have like a franchise cover 45 different main characters. Have you ever watched Game of Thrones? Jesus Christ. There's like 27 main characters and they all got a story that they cover in some way every single week.
That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, it's insanely hard to follow.
I think having a Luke Skywalker trilogy right after that would be cool. I think it just would be a question of could they keep the quality up from the other 3 movies? So
yeah, when we're talking standalone ideas, why has no one ever pitched anything about the time span between 6 and 7 with Luke? Where did he go? All that kind of stuff.
Well, that's, going to be addressed, I'm sure, shortly here in the canon. So,
yeah.
All right, well, let's play number 6, Steve.
Okay.
No, we're not because I muted the stupid thing.
Button mashing.
Right.
Number 6, a trilogy of sequels instead of the prequels. So back when they were filming Empire Strikes Back, Lucas apparently asked Mark Hamill to keep his schedule open for about 30 years from that point. His idea being a trilogy of sequels rather than prequels, which would focus on the Jedi Master's later life. Probably about him doing his shopping or filing his tax returns or making amends to the family of the Womp Rats he killed in his early years. Lucas's biographer even had some evidence on this, stating that the series of sequels would begin filming in the 90s, which was around the same time that the prequels began shooting. Oh, what could have been.
All right. So basically a Luke trilogy again, but waiting like we suggested a little bit earlier.
Yeah. So waiting for the actor to age into the role, just do a time skip a little bit.
Yeah.
Which that is one of the coolest things about picking up the story now with the original characters is that they very cleverly did write the timeline to advance the same amount of time as real life has passed.
Yeah.
So you're not having to do some sort of like weird makeup job on anybody or anyone to make them play like older or younger or anything like that.
Well, do you think that was a conscious effort because they didn't want to do those makeup jobs, or did they go, man, if this works, we've got 30 years of storyline that we can fill in with all this crap in the canon. It was just a vehicle to tell a lot more stories and make a lot more money.
Oh, it's convenient on both ends. Totally.
Maybe they did. George is just sitting on 30 years worth of Matt Hamill shoots that we know nothing about. And like 10 years from now, he's just going to dump it on our laps.
Wouldn't it be great if George Lucas is behind all this and this is actually his story? And nobody knows, and all the fans are crapping on him and going, see, George Lucas could never do this. And they're going to do like 6 more movies. And then Lucas is going to come out right before his death and go, F everyone. I wrote it all. And Lucasfilm's going to go, he did. George Lucas wrote all this.
Straight Wizard of Oz thing where Lucas is actually the emperor.
He is. That'd be fantastic.
Or conspiracy theory. He actually did sell Disney Star Wars back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the condition was you have to sit on this. It's like a savings bond.
Yeah. Right.
You can open this in 30 years.
Yeah.
It's for like $4 billion.
Yeah.
It's like what you were just talking about with my wife upstairs about the Dark Tower thing. Just Lucas writes himself in towards the end of the series.
The Emperor turns around and it's George Lucas. You're like, oh my God.
Honestly, I don't know how I'd feel about that in the theaters. I don't know if I'd be upset or excited about that.
Well, I think I can say this.
Like, he just takes it completely out of context. It's like George Lucas is there and he just talks about how like all Star Wars is fake and it's like film. He just like he breaks the fourth wall. It talks about how all Star Wars was him filming movies and stuff instead of this like grandiose universe and stuff.
if he manages to troll the entire basically planet.
Yeah, exactly.
If he manages to troll our entire species for half a century
and get $4 billion to do
right?
it.
Like, okay, hats off to you, sir.
He's instantly the most intelligent human that ever lived.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think doing this one, first of all, we just agreed a couple minutes ago that a Luke trilogy would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would have been one of the most enormous risks he could have ever taken, because let's say he does this in the 90s. We saw how people crapped on the prequels, but the prequels were a new story. So it was a blank canvas. So there wasn't, you weren't really destroying, previous, like you weren't really destroying the mythos of the original trilogy unless, except for the people that are saying, well, now Darth Vader looks crappy because of, little Anakin or whatever. But anyway, if you do a Luke Skywalker trilogy, and let's say he does those movies the same way he did the prequels, which is rule with an iron fist, that had all the potential to absolutely ruin that Luke Skywalker character. He could have taken what everybody believed in Luke Skywalker and just absolutely shattered it and destroyed it.
That is true. I mean, he's one of those guys that he deliberately does take the unconventional path at most times to keep things interesting. And sometimes the obvious choice is the right one.
Yeah.
So if he's just taking like left turn after left turn after left turn, you're like, okay, at some point it's too far, dude.
Yeah.
Plus you run the risk with subsequent sequel after subsequent sequel. It's not nearly as special. Like one thing, hate the prequels or not, but one thing that makes 7 so cool is that you're back to the original trilogy setting and the original trilogy characters after a long hiatus.
Yeah.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
So if we had just kept on getting like the next chapter, if you just keep going in sequence, it's not nearly as special.
Yeah. And at some point you run out of ideas, I think, with that, I mean, like we just brought up the Freddy Krueger thing. It's like, okay, well, first movie was awesome. Second one, okay, it had the gay undertones, whatever. Third one was cool because, it was a little different, but, it's kind of, and then by the fourth one, you're just like, all right, it's a bunch of teenagers that fall asleep and then Freddy Krueger's going to kill them and have a catchphase. Like,
right.
It's just, it
didn't feel right till, 10, 15 years later when Freddy versus Jason came out. Like that was the proper way to kind of end that story.
Yeah.
And it worked too. Like, it made way too much sense when they did it that you were like, wait a minute, he's using Jason to make people. Oh,
yeah, right. Exactly.
Like, wow, that's really smart.
Yeah. I mean, the nostalgia factor is huge. I mean, that's what they sold episode 7 on. I mean, the big moment, the Chewie, we're home. That got everybody.
Mm-hmm.
People that were like, I don't know if I'm going to see it. As soon as they saw Chewbacca and Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon, they're like, take my money.
Yep.
Got the casual fan. So, but yeah, I think that would have been interesting to see what he would have done with it, because it could have destroyed the Luke Skywalker character unless he had written all the stuff in the 80s at the same time he had written the original trilogy. But if he just started writing from scratch, like he did with, the prequels, considering the fan reaction to the prequels, you have to assume that those movies would have been similarly received just based on his writing style.
Yeah.
And wanting to go more towards, a younger audience with the poop jokes and all that kind of stuff.
The story direction would have been interesting too, because 6 tied everything up so neatly. And it's like any movie though, you never, like when it's a romantic comedy or romance, whatever, it's always ends with the couple hooking up and falling in love, not, let's usher them through their first couple of years of marriage and see, what happens after that. It's always the chase to the goal, not, what happens after the goal.
Exactly.
So same thing here, where like one of the things that was always intriguing about the EU, and now that they picked up in official canon, was, what happens to the Empire after the Emperor and Vader.
Yeah.
It was never something you ever worried about before. You're like, okay, credits rolled. Vader and Emperor are dead. That means the Empire is gone. Yay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, nice. But yeah, so how would he have continued that?
Yeah.
Would the Empire itself have stayed proper, or would it be like the current sequel trilogy era where the remnants kind of like slunk off and formed something new but similar?
Yeah.
I really wonder where George was going with it.
I really need to be taking notes during this, because I'm already thinking towards the end of the conversation, and I'm actually having a massive shift in my outlook on episode 7 all of a sudden, because of stuff we've all been saying for these first few points. I'm like, something, this movie's starting to look kind of ingenious. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I hope I can remember this stuff. But all right, well, Steve, let's do number 5.
Number 5, a David Fincher directed The Force Awakens. When Disney bought Lucasfilm and announced Episode 7, the biggest question, after whether or not the central trio would return, is who would direct. Lucas was officially out of the running, and based on Disney's track record, people began to think that Joss Whedon would take the helm. But then they approached David Fincher, the man who was behind Fight Club, Seven, and The Social Network. I mean, talk about a tone shift. Now, obviously he didn't get the part, but could you imagine the weird and darker undertones he'd bring? Well, in his own words, he'd want to do an Ex Machina in space and focus on droids. Probably not what Disney were looking for.
Did you guys see Ex Machina or Machina or whatever, how you pronounce it? Have you seen that?
No.
I have. That was an awesome movie. It would have made a horrendous Star Wars movie. It's literally just 3 characters. It's Han,
Luke, and Leia.
No, I'm talking about Ex. I'm just gonna say Ex Machina because I don't know the
Machina. I think, yeah.
I'll say, all right, Ex Machina. So it's only 3 characters. Although, you know what, it kind of was Episode 7 because it had Oscar Isaac and Domhnall Gleeson were 2 of them. So there you go. But basically the plot is that Oscar Isaac, he like owns an island. He owns a tech company, and Domhnall Gleeson's like this uber smart guy that works there, and he wins this thing somehow to go visit him on his compound, visit the owner guy who's like a super recluse, and he goes out there, and basically the guy owns his like entire island. And
so Hux works for Poe and then meets Snoke.
Yeah, Snoke. If Snoke was it's an android, but it actually has like the most advanced form of AI
Snoke.
ever. Yeah, right. And it's all about like what is alive, what does it mean to be alive, and all this stuff, and it's existential, and it's got like a plot twist at the end. So, but it's to do something like that in the Star Wars universe would be
See, they should have had Harrison Ford in that. They could have written Decker in.
Yeah, right. It would have been just a mashup. But, and I don't know, like the only thing I would say about the David Fincher stuff, I mean, if it was going to be like, if he wanted to write an Ex Machina in space, it's like, all right, well, thanks for coming. Don't let the door hit you in the ass. But I love the movie, but that'd be horrible for Star Wars. But I mean, Fight Club, Social Network, and Seven, I think not really Social Network because it was actually like a true story, but Seven and Fight Club had really cool plot twists and were very, very original. And I think that could have been really cool because we're seeing what Rian Johnson. Well, once we see Episode 8, if it's what we hope it is, that's what Rian Johnson
we're already
has
anointing
done.
Episode 8 as this great new chapter.
Yeah.
We don't even know. It could be a turd for all we know.
I am so worried about because I'm so pumped up. Like I haven't been this excited since the prequels were in the theaters. I couldn't wait to see what the hell happened next kind of thing. And it was like Episode 7. I was like, okay, because that one, as I've said in the past, you know, when I saw that the weapon was just a giant Death Star, I was like, oh man. And then Rogue One, I'm like, I don't know. There's a blind guy with a stick. Like, I really don't know. So
we should learn by now that we're not going to be disappointed by a Star Wars movie.
Yeah. I'm going to reserve that judgment, as I said, for the Han Solo movie, because that's the one that could just absolutely the bed. So I don't know. But anyway, from an originality and a plot twist standpoint, David Fincher could have done something really cool based on, you know, his track record. It could have been really, really cool. But if it was some introspective, dramatic, you know, thing like Ex Machina, like, no, that would be horrible.
That's the trick, isn't it? Like with the episodic films, you've got to do an homage to George Lucas. The episode titles have to look like the other episode titles. You can't be like, well, we're not going to have a crawl in this one. Or, you know, as long as he's still alive, John Williams, let's not have him score it.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're going to use the exact same formula. You know, don't change it. This is not New Coke.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's a
that's one way to alienate the entire, you know, fan base of Star Wars is to do something along those lines.
Yeah.
Star Wars Episode 9, no crawl and no John Williams. We'd be like, what what?
Yeah, what is that? Like, this isn't Star Wars. I mean, look at how people crapped all over the only thing that was kind of, you know, if people had a complaint about Rogue One, the one kind of universal derision of it was that it wasn't John Williams doing the score. It was the score. It's not John Williams, you know? So
this is always one of the questions I have, though, and we've raised this on the show about Force Awakens. If you didn't know George Lucas wasn't directing it, would you have a bias against it? Like if you just watched it without knowing who directed it, would it marry up nicely to the other 6, or would it really seem like that much of a departure as it does at times?
Man, that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a thought experiment. You can never know.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's just one of those things. A lot like, well, like, you know, when you see like a digital character like Tarkin, some people didn't buy into Tarkin in Rogue One. But if you didn't know that the actor was dead and that was CG, a lot of people just believed it was an actor on stage.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's our own, you know, predisposed notions that kind of ruin things for us, I think.
I think the Tarkin example is the perfect way to phrase that, because I know when he turned around, I was like, holy crap. But knowing that Peter Cushing's been dead since the early 90s, I'm looking at every little nuance going, well, that's not right. I was nitpicking without even meaning to, because the guy's dead. Like, so
you instantly don't buy into it, and vice versa. I would love it. And again, I don't think we could ever actually play this out, but it'd be great to get something that was genuine and be told it was fake.
Yeah.
Like, what if they come out and go like, actually, Krennic, he was CG as well. Then you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah, right. Well, in that case, put Princess Leia back in the damn trilogy.
Is anything real?
Yeah, right. So I don't know. What do you think about that, Steve? I think, like I say, from a standpoint of originality and kind of turning things on its ear, that would have been good. But wanting to do that overly dramatic thing, just yeah,
especially if it was what he mentioned. If you're just going to focus it on the droids and call it in episode 7.
I forgot about that he was, it was focused on droids. Yeah.
That would have been extremely odd. Like you said, it's a nice change of pace, but at the same point, you're going to sit there and watch it for long enough and go, okay, where's the lightsabers and Luke and stuff? Like I'm over the droids right now. We got to see some Star Wars air quotes.
I mean,
I'm not looking for short circuit or batteries not included.
Yeah, only really serious. Yeah. I mean, once it was announced that we're getting more Star Wars movies, people want a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
See, so it's, I mean, they just want what's in their head.
Yes.
Damn it. This stupid article is crapping all over my arguments against episode 7. Damn it.
The closer we get to ending this show, the more he's liking episode 7. It's just steady going up his list of favorite Star Wars movies.
We did not start this podcast to educate me and open my mind to things. I'm closed-minded and I'm going to stick to it. Damn it. This is bullcrap.
Sorry to make you enjoy the movie more.
I'm going to email him later with just general internet hate trollery, and just
how long?
Your mom is hey, all of your articles are stupid. You suck.
How long can we drag this podcast out? Like 15, 16 hours or something, to the point where he's a fan of Hux?
Right.
Wear a smooth spot on my brain.
We're just doing one of those like Twitch streams where they're on for like 28 hours and stuff. AJ and I are just growing facial hair and just falling asleep at the table. 30 hours later,
like shows it.
30 hours later, John's like, you know what? Hux is a damn good character. I don't know why I never saw this before. This makes perfect sense.
He had clear motivations. He was well realized. The acting was very believable.
I think it's going to take you more than 30 hours on that one, but All right, let's play
30 hours straight. We might get you.
Let's do number 4.
No, I paused it again.
Number 4, a non-Disney Lucas-directed version of The Force Awakens. You know what? I'm just going to say it. Thank God Disney bought Lucasfilm, as The Force Awakens we got was a metric shed load of fun. But at one point, the lure to return was very strong within Lucas, as after denying that he'd ever do a sequel trilogy, he was rumoured to return to help on 7, 8, and 9. No one knows what treatments he submitted, but what we do know is that he finally stated that he didn't have such time for such a big commitment. Thank God.
All right. So it's a non-Disney, George Lucas directed Force Awakens.
Obviously, we're not going to crap on that idea.
No, but apparently this guy did, because of course we have to have the prequel hate. Hey, everybody, look, I'm on YouTube. I can hate on the prequels. F*** you, pal. So anyways, get that out.
Wait, there wasn't prequel hate.
Yes, it was. He said, thank God.
Yeah, because Lucas said he didn't have enough time to do anything with the project.
That's crapping on him because it's basically saying he did a crappy job with the prequels. You know that's what it means.
He's saying the guy, after hearing that the guy didn't have the time to put in the proper work on the franchise, he's glad it got handed off to somebody who did.
No, you're skipping ahead to because when he said, he said when he mentioned a non-Disney Lucas direct, let's just skip past that one because nobody wants.
Can you rewind this video? I got to hear this again.
Yeah.
Possibly. Just give me a
possibly.
second
Yes.
This is nice.
here. Maybe.
Okay.
Wait, that was from the prequels. I don't acknowledge that.
I'm going to throw stuff at you, I swear.
A non-Disney Lucas-directed version of The Force Awakens. You know what? I'm just going to say it. Thank God Disney bought Lucasfilm, as The Force Awakens we got was a metric shed load of fun.
There you go. He's just saying he loves Episode 7.
Because
therefore, he's glad that Disney made that movie.
Because that's saying because he doesn't want George Lucas to do it. It's crapping on the prequels.
He just said because the movie we got was tons of fun.
Stop it. Quit taking the devil's advocate. You know damn well what he meant. He meant
the movie was fun and he really enjoyed it.
And please back me up that he said that because he doesn't want Lucas to do it. And why would he not want George Lucas to do it? Because he hates the friggin' prequels.
So I'm taking his comments on face value and you're saying I'm the one reading into stuff.
Dude, it's right there in black and white. If you like Star
Videos
Wars.
in color.
Yeah, right. If you like Star Wars, then, and you like the prequels, then he would go, oh yeah, what if George Lucas did it and it was just, a continuation of what he did with 4, 5, and 6, just starting in like 2015. What if that happened? Instead of going, thank God George Lucas didn't have Lucasfilm. That means he hated what he did before. And he already said that, episode 4 was like a perfect movie. So, geez, oh man, what are you listening to?
I'll put it back in music terms for you again. That's like,
you're not going to sway me because you're wrong.
That's like someone saying, I love 5150 so much. I'm glad David Lee Roth left Van Halen because otherwise I wouldn't have 5150.
No, it's not.
I was waiting for some sort of supporting argument.
I don't need a supporting argument. It's right there. He said, thank God George Lucas didn't make episode 7.
Because I really like the episode 7 that came out without him.
No, that's bullcrap.
I mean, that is what he said.
But you know what he meant. You know exactly what that means. You know exactly what you cannot. Don't you
now who's reading into it?
Dude, I'm sorry. You're wrong. And if you agree with him, Steve, you're wrong too. I'm not backing down from this.
Well,
I've read enough.
You are reading into it,
but dude. Now, the one thing I won't say this. I won't say that episode 7 by Disney was so good. I don't even care what George Lucas would have done with episode. No, obviously I will always side with the original creator giving us his version of 7.
That's not what, that's not what this guy's saying. Just listen to his tone of voice and everything. He's crapping on the prequels.
Now, on just talking for me right now. I don't know why I can't form complete sentences tonight very well, but whatever.
Right?
No one's listening anyway.
Yeah.
No, episode 7 was good and Disney's doing a great job with the franchise, but I'm never going to say that I love Disney's Star Wars so much that I'm glad George Lucas isn't a part of it. You always want to have George Lucas involved in some way if you can have him.
Yeah. Well, you'd have a different opinion than this guy because he hates the prequels, and that's what he just said. I'm sorry. I cannot believe you don't hear it that way. And if I remember right, there's other stuff later.
Hey, point number 3.
Yeah.
Got it.
Number 3, The Force Awakens, but with little focus on the old cast. So one of the first people who Disney approached to help craft Episode 7 was Michael Arndt, who worked on Little Miss Sunshine and Toy Story 3 prior. But this wasn't to be as he soon left the project. The exact reasons on why took a while to surface. Originally, the tight production timeframe was blamed, but eventually it became apparent that the problem was something more ingrained. Arndt's version of the movie had been too forward-thinking, relegating the returning characters Luke, Han, and Leia to supporting roles and pushing younger characters, reportedly their children, front and center, which apparently clashed with Abrams' view of the film.
Okay. See,
you were talking about the nostalgia factor and stuff like that, so I feel this is probably where that's coming back in.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. Having made arguments during this particular show we're recording, I kind of see Steve's point from previous shows about episode 7 when I've been arguing they don't need to bring, they don't have to do something that rips off episode 4 so hard. They had the 3 older characters just go and do an original story. They did need to ride the older characters. I still agree with that. But I think, as I said a few minutes ago, they had to give people what they wanted in their mind as a Star Wars movie. And you've said that before, Steve, so I give you a lot of credit for that.
I try.
Yeah. When people hear Star Wars is coming back for the first time in forever, and it's going to be original trilogy ish, in their head, they know what they want. And I think it was probably, in hindsight, after I've crapped on it a ton, looking at it and dissecting it, is probably a very, very good idea to basically go, well, you've kind of already seen this, but we know what you want. You want it. It's like a Hulk Hogan match. Like when he hasn't wrestled in 10 years, he's going to come back. You want to see him rip the shirt off. You want to see him,
big boot, leg drop.
Hulk up. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's kind of what it was. So to put the main characters in the background, I think would be a mistake. I mean, but now here's a question for you guys. Luke, I don't think was in the background because his specter was hanging over the entire movie.
Yes.
So even though you don't see him, like he's obviously the main thing, like because they're Snoke in the First Order, Kylo Ren, they're all like, oh, we gotta Luke Skywalker can make the Jedi again, and obviously they're the good guys are looking for the map to get to Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. Han Solo's everywhere, obviously, as he should be. But Princess Leia, I thought kind of was a supporting character in the movie. I didn't really think that she was that big of a deal. She just kind of showed up and then she's in charge. She's only in a few scenes when you really think about it.
Yeah, that's a tough character to write because she was never, she was in the thick of the action in the original trilogy by necessity. But obviously when you advance the character and she's now a general, the general isn't the first one charging into battle. The general is the one hanging back at the base, strategizing the plans and whatnot. So how much can you really put her in the middle unless the fight comes to the base?
Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think about if they would have done the movie when it's just, you get like 2 minutes of the original characters or 3 minutes and it's all this new stuff. I personally would have crapped on that because I think as much as I was like, okay, let's see what they do. I want to see something new. I'm that guy. I'm sorry, but it's, again, the nostalgia factor.
If you're only going to put them in for 2 minutes at a time, you shouldn't have put them in at all. Would have been my take on it. If Han and Leia, Luke literally spent seconds on the screen during episode 7, I would have just left the theater going, why'd you put them there?
Yeah.
Why do 130 minutes of new characters and one of the originals? You could have just left them. You could have said they all died.
Yeah. Do you think they could have done in episode 7 with Han, Luke, and Leia what they did with Vader in Rogue One? I think that's a perfect comparison. What do you guys think about that?
Well, if you're going to set the movie in the timeline of their lifespan, you can't do it.
Right.
There's no way, with how much they are in the thick of the fight of the main storyline that runs through all 6 and now 7, soon to be 8 movies, there's no way those characters would be on the sidelines for any of the events taking place in the 7th movie.
That's a good point.
Rey and Finn take the Falcon. They go up into space. Han and Chewie come and they go, we're home, and they take the ship and they actually drop Rey and Finn off and then they disappear. Right. You would have been extremely pissed about that. You'd have been like, why did you put that in the movie? Like, it was cool to see Han and Chewie, but why did you do that? That makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in hindsight, you almost have to do it that way, the way they did it. Man, I am just, see what I mean about like my kind of my opinion shifting on this movie? Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I'm surprised at myself with my points too.
Yeah, this is crazy. All right, number 2.
Number 2, The Empire Strikes Back. Episode 5 was originally going to be Episode 7. Yeah, really. When Lucas originally showed his plans for the War Amongst the Stars, it was to be as a 12-piece saga. As a result, some of the big twists were spread out, and apparently the big one in Empire Strikes Back, the Big Dad Darth reveal, was going to be held on to until Episode 7. It would have changed the landscape of the series, and possibly been less impactful than its mid-game twist is today.
Again, I think that one is reliant upon 6 movies prior being good.
There's a shift though. This doesn't say that if they were going for the 12 episode plan, that they wouldn't have still started with episode 4. Now, we don't actually know that because who knows what episode number 4 would have been given if the whole thing was greenlit.
So you're saying episode 7 could have been the 4th movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we do know that the prequels were at least conceived of, because of the references to the Clone Wars and Anakin Skywalker and everything in A New Hope. So obviously, if there was a 12-part plan, the first movie was still somewhere in the middle. It was never the beginning and then moving forward.
Yeah.
So you'd still only have 3 movies to tell the prequel side of that story and then expand the rest of the story over the next 9 episodes.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure based on the pacing of that and the relative proportions, prequel haters would be loving that. You'd basically be getting like one film to tell the entire prequel trilogy.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hold off on that reveal that long.
That would be huge, though.
That almost seems like one of those moves that would be like, it would happen right about the time. Let's say it was the 4th movie, and it would almost be one of those things where it would be at the time where you're done with the original trilogy and you think it's done, and the story you're like, okay, you've had 3 movies and you got to kind of like give it a little jolt to kind of make it fresh. That's when you do it. It seems like it'd be that kind of move.
Yeah, I think you're dragging out I know this is based on old serials where the villain never dies and they always fight and they always run off. But I think it works a lot better getting around to that plot twist in the second movie than being like, we fought, Vader got away. We fought, Vader got away. We fought, Vader got away. We fought, oh, he's my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like rehashing the same ideas like we talked about.
It's tough to think about because, what we know about Star Wars is so ingrained in our minds. I'm trying to picture moving that to the end of episode 6 and then have 4 or 5 minutes of movie before the credits after that.
Yeah.
So 6 would have been basically like, episode 4 is kind of like a 3-act play, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you still have episode 6 end the same? You do the father reveal and then you still end up dragging his corpse onto the thing and having the whole "I love you, Dad" moment before they put him on the pyre and stuff.
I think what they're saying is basically they would have
stretched out the events.
Yeah, like episode 4 and 5 would have stretched out to like 4 movies.
I was saying, because I'm trying to picture like how do you end the dad reveal? Do you still end episode 5 the same way, the father reveal, and then Luke, falling down the giant slide, or do you have the father reveal and still end it like 6? It's like I said, it's so ingrained into our minds of how it is. I can't picture a way to make that scene happen in my head right now.
Yeah.
I don't see it playing out any way other than the way it did, because
I feel the same way.
The whole big drama of the lightsaber battle between Vader and Luke in Return of the Jedi is all the conflict internally, because Luke is like, I've got to do this thing. I hate to do it because he's my father.
Yeah.
And I can't go dark while I do it, even though I'm trying to take this guy out.
Yeah, that's what makes episode 6, because already going in that's that, like you said, the internal struggle of Luke knowing that's his father. Now you try to wrap all that up within a 5 to 10 minute time span after that, and then end the franchise, because at that point there was no Luke, I am your father. Directed by George Lucas meme.
That monster cliffhanger, like the third book of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Luke, I am your what?
Yeah, that'd be even better. Don't even say it.
Kidney donor? What?
It goes out like The Sopranos, black screen, no credits, no nothing.
Oh my God. Then you would hear the entire fan base just go, oh, come on! And with that, number 1, sir.
Yeah. And number 1, a Disney version that used Lucas's ideas. When Disney bought Lucasfilm, it was made abundantly clear that it wasn't just the rights to Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Sam and Max that they'd got. They also had George Lucas's treatments for the Star Wars sequels. In the media storm around the purchase, Disney made it very clear that these were going to be used as a groundwork for the movies going forward. It was cause to be wary for fans burnt by the prequels, but at least reassured everyone else that the House of Mouse wasn't just making more Star Wars films just because they could. Then, they just didn't use them. Lucas revealed that J.J. Abrams and company just completely ignored his treatments, taking the saga in a totally new direction. But to be fair, George doesn't seem really that torn up about it. Maybe because the $4 billion that he got for the franchise is an awful lot of money.
All right, so a Disney version, which is what we got, but with George Lucas ideas.
That one is really intriguing. I mean, we'll never know how that played out, but I've always kind of been a little skeptical of that anyway, honestly, because he had all this time to do it, said, nope, I'm done. Nope, I'm done. Nope, I'm done. And then all of a sudden, oh wait, no, I've got treatments for 7, 8, and 9. Oh, and I sold to Disney. It's like when you paint the house right before putting it on the market. I think it's one of those things where he's like, all right, I want to sell this thing, so I'm going to steward it on to the next caretaker by providing them a starting point.
Yeah.
But it was never with the intent of I'd make these movies if Disney didn't come along. He just wrote them so someone else could take care of it, I think.
I've always wondered why there's all the back and forth about whether or not he had 7, 8, 9 and 10, 11, 12. Because if you go back on YouTube, there's interviews from back at like 1982 and 3, or maybe it's even 1980 or something, where he does mention that there's stories afterwards. But then for years, he's, oh, no, there's not. Now, like you said, all of a sudden there is. It's like, okay. And then that makes you wonder if they basically told him, no, forget your ideas, because it was, again, a Luke trilogy and just basically kind of going in a linear storytelling fashion from where it left off with 6, instead of, like they said, they want to take it in a new direction. Yeah. I think the way that this could have worked, this last one, number 1, would be if they have all the same people that, and this is what I always wanted all along anyway, do episode 7 exactly the same as they did in terms of like the writing and creative team and actors and actresses and all that stuff, but have George Lucas there with his input and have him kind of like give that George Lucas-y feel to it, but still have it go in a different direction. So because that would make it feel like Star Wars. He could be like, well, I suggest this. What about if we try this? And then bounce ideas off J.J. Abrams and, Lawrence Kasdan and stuff like that.
Kind of like what we were talking about with The Dark Tower. Bringing it back to that, where Stephen King didn't write this movie coming out, but he was in active contact with the creators of the movie.
Yeah. But
then again, like you said about the Iron Fist of the prequels, maybe they did that on purpose because they didn't want George just coming in with the little bit of power that he would have had and then just going, screw all of you guys. I'm just going to direct the damn thing. Screw you.
Yeah. I think
which could have been a possibility, like you said, with the Iron Fist thing, that if you go, here's this whole script and George just starts ripping out pages that he doesn't like, and then you have 2 blank sheets of paper and go, all right.
Yeah,
that's what I like that you guys put out there.
Yeah, I mean, it begs the question. I mean, did they just do it because his ego would not allow him to collaborate on this thing that he created?
Almost had to make sure he had no part in it just to get the damn thing done.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, I mean,
we'd still be waiting for episode 7 right now.
Yeah, right.
Like you said, according to rumors of the ego and everything like that, we could still be sitting here going, wow, they've been working on this movie for 3 years now. Where the hell is it?
Yeah.
Well, not even rumors of the ego. It's like, I mean, the guy created the entire universe. If you got him on set and he's like, I think it should go this way, who's going to have the balls to tell George Lucas, no, that's not the way Star Wars should go?
Yeah.
Like you just got Bob Iger from Disney just going, you know what, George, come over here. And he just escorts him off the property of the thing and they shut like a fence behind him.
Get out of here, Blanchard. Yeah, I mean,
why don't you go ahead and tell us your ideas from this side of the fence, George?
Yeah, you can't have those two creative forces. George Lucas is not going to back down, and whoever bought it is going to want to do what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
You know what, George? 4 billion reasons why we're going to do what the hell we want to do with it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It would have been so hard because he would have, can he coexist with somebody telling him, well, that idea might not be very good? I mean, I think we know from like the Clone Wars cartoons and other things that he did that he basically just comes in there and, when he owned it, he let Filoni do a bunch of stuff, but there was a lot of stuff where he came in and said, we're doing this and you make it work.
You know, that's interesting though, because that is kind of the way the Clone Wars worked. Is it wasn't like George Lucas was giving every idea for every episode. It was more like he took full stewardship at the beginning and was the main creative force. And then as time went on and Dave Filoni got up on his feet more and got a feel for it, the series took on a life of its own. The crew making it made it. And then it became, as I understand it became more of like just an approval process.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, here's our story direction. Here's where we're going with it. And George would just say yes or no.
Yeah.
He wouldn't like come in and like steamroll the thing.
Yeah. So I guess you really, if you own Lucasfilm, you almost kind of have to remove George Lucas from it, because there's no way he's going to back down from, well, here's my ideas. Here's what I feel like doing. So they almost had to do it the way that they did it, which, I mean, I guess I understand. I don't have that type of an ego to go, well, no, I made this, so you have to do it my way. It's, with something that big, it's like you have to be open to other story ideas.
Well, actually, you can relate an experience with that. I mean, you've been in a band, it's a collaborative thing, and then you get a producer involved.
Yeah.
When you're in the studio. So you've got like, I've got this song like finalized in my head. It's crystallized in my head what it's going to sound like. And then the producer's like, let's change this. What does that feel like? I
actually enjoyed it. I know a lot of local musicians, like national musicians, are used to it because that's what happens. But local musicians tend to be a bunch of and they really look at it as, no, my song's perfect. My song's perfect. Why is this guy coming here and changing it? But when we did it in my band, I actually really enjoyed it because every time we did it, they would come up with something that improved on what we had done. So because you're so close to it, of course, you're going to think it's perfect, but you don't have that objective ear to go, well, maybe this part's too long, or maybe this chord isn't really fitting in like I want it to, or maybe, we should speed up the tempo or slow down the tempo. So I really liked it. So, but George Lucas being George Lucas, again, hearing the rumors of him wanting things his way, damn it. He probably was unwilling to work with other people. He just wanted it. Like, here's my idea. I made Star Wars, so this is what we have to do. And they went, well, we don't want to do that.
It probably feels different because of how big Star Wars was. To go on what AJ was talking about, if you had a song that you guys have been playing for 4 or 5 years and it's the song in your set and it's got radio play and you got YouTube hits out the ass on it and all that, and then a producer goes, it doesn't sound right, like I can't put this on the album, you're gonna go, what the hell are you talking about? Like, the numbers prove it. Like, this is what we do. We're not going to change the damn thing. Why would we change it? You know, so it's probably just because of the magnitude of what Star Wars was to begin with. So I see what you're saying. When it's something brand new and they go, let's change this, and this, you don't feel that attached to it.
Yeah.
But if it was something that you were like dead attached to, this was your ode, this was the song that your band is known for, and they go, nah, we need you to change this.
Yeah.
You'd probably be like,
see, and I guess that your point depends upon how you would view episode 7. Are you looking at it from the standpoint of Star Wars itself? I'm saying how Lucas would look at it. I'm saying, is he looking at it as, well, Star Wars itself is already established, so you have to take my ideas because that's the established thing? Or would he have looked at it as, like you said, a new song, like episode 7 being a new song and being open to people's ideas about his thing that he wrote based on past history?
So I
think there's two ways to look at that. So your point is excellent.
Right. I'm thinking he would, obviously not knowing George, I think he would look at it the first way you mentioned it, just because he wrote this stuff a million years ago with 12 parts. So he already knew what his episode 7 was. It's not like he stopped at 6 and 7 was a completely new idea. He knew where he was going with this thing, and he, knew better than anybody else because it's his baby. So yeah, possible. I feel like he would have looked at it that way just because he already had these stories in his head many moons ago. So of course he already, sale or not, he already had a vision in his head of what he thought 7 was supposed to be.
Yeah. And he has been on record as saying that it's, Star Wars to him was always just the Skywalker saga. So I think if, they wanted to go in a different direction and kind of focus on another character like they seem to be potentially doing with Rey,
or the whole connected universe in general.
Yeah. Then
that's the thing. If you like the way Star Wars is now, where we've got video games and TV shows and comic books, and they are all A, official, and B, connected like deliberately, where they tell a cohesive narrative, that never would have happened under George Lucas's stewardship.
Yeah.
So
So I think this, this Disney thing really, and the way they did episode 7 really breathed new life into it. And is, to kind of put a bow on everything. And this last little bit of discussion is I wanted it to be something original, like episode 1. You just come out and just take a left turn and just tell me a new Star Wars story. But in discussing it in depth like this, I think that the way it happened, if you really put it all together, kind of looks like the perfect way for it to happen, because it gave fans what we wanted and it kept Star Wars alive. Because I think a lot, I think the common factor with a lot of these 8 ideas is that had they gone through with it, it had the potential to literally just kill Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I think by doing it this way, it actually rejuvenated it and kind of reset the whole thing.
Yeah. The movie we got was a perfect handoff. First, it was rehash enough, let's face it, or nostalgic enough, whatever you want to call it, to provide the right vibe to connect to the previous films.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to go, people are already anxious because they know it's not from the original creator. So they tried to make something that was as similar as possible.
Yeah.
While also introducing new characters and directions that they could go later without going there yet, because all they had to do was get people's feet wet. And now they're ready to go forward with Last Jedi and tell a whole different breadth of stories.
Yeah. And this was really eye-opening to do this. It was, to kind of contemplate where it could go. It really kind of shows you that what they did was exactly what we needed in order to keep Star Wars going forward and to really give it back to us.
Exactly. I don't think Hux was ever in George Lucas's story treatments.
You're such a, but yeah, that's crazy. I mean, it's been a year and a half since episode 7's been out. And I've always said, I really love it, but I've always thought, it's just a, kind of a cash grab thing. And it come to find out there was almost no better way they could have handled that movie to bring Star Wars back.
Mm-hmm.
So, very, very good video to bring to the table tonight, AJ. That was very good. I'll take credit for that next week when I go to 3.5 months of taking all of our ideas.
Awesome. Okay.
AJ, start looking tonight when you get home on any kind of YouTube video that might make John a Hux fan.
Right.
8 reasons why Hux is the greatest Star Wars character ever.
Actually, that'll be what AJ does to go viral, to get clicks. Why Hux is the greatest Star Wars character ever. And just pull the smallest little crap out. Like, he has the most neatly coiffed hair in the entire saga.
Maybe I'll cosplay as him for Force Friday this year.
Well,
just push your way to the front of the line and start screaming Hux lines.
That would be great. And that's how you go viral.
Right.
That would be awesome.
Bring the first order to Toys R Us.
All right. On that note, why don't we close up shop for this episode? Thanks again, AJ, for bringing that. Steve, you had a lot of good points tonight. I mean, you're always good, but you had a lot of insightful stuff tonight. It was cool.
I'll lower the bar for the next show.
What's wrong with you?
I don't want to set goals too high now, because then we're expected to meet those.
Damn it! Now people want you to be thoughtful.
No, just let's cross that out of your mind right now.
And now we'll acapella the Who's the Boss theme.
Yeah. We'll just do like a different 80s sitcom theme every week now, after the outro.
Insight to that
last show.
Minimum 2 hours worth of editing to put that stupid outro together.
All right, I guess we're not going to be singing the Who's the Boss theme. All right, so anyways, guys, thanks again for checking out another episode of the Nerfherder Council. You can find us on Spreaker.com or the Spreaker app. That's our main platform. We are also on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher. Don't forget to find us on YouTube. You can send us comments and stuff there. We do have the website, nerfherdercouncil.com. If you'd like to interact with the show, you can send us an email at feedback@nerfherdercouncil.com. Call and leave us a voicemail at 440-987-WARS, which is 9277. And of course, as always, I am your host, JT at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
He's Steve.
At JSteve1005.
And we will catch you later.
This bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my nerf herder.
You my nerf herder.
Holy did I nail the outro this time? I'm finally getting smooth.
Great kid! Don't get cocky!